Hey y'all, welcome back to Lantern Creek Farm. Alright, today's video is probably going to be a pretty short video since I'm not going to try to be out here for long periods of time. Also, I've got a glove off and my hands are literally already freezing. You know, doing chores in single degree digits is just not really that fun. So I figured it was something somebody would be interested in. I've already discovered that I cannot use glass jugs water. I knew that. I don't know why I thought that this would be the exception. I put a second water in here. And then it completely froze and the whole top broke off of it. And then this jug, let me see. I'll flip the camera around and show you, but this one is just sitting here. The whole bottom broke off. It's completely shattered. So 2 mason jars down, and we've just started chores. Stand that I keep down here, and I didn't even consider the fact that it would freeze and break, but it's finished. Looks like now that my stand's broke, we're gonna have some mighty funky angles today. Man, that really stinks. Broke right off the top. If you know that cold weather's coming in, it's best to get as much done when the weather is warm and kind of set yourself up for success the next day. So maybe get feed together if you can. Obviously, you can fill waters and bring them in the house. That way they stay warm. Yesterday, I pre-mixed my chicken feed, so that helped me some. The rabbits and the quail are not that hard to feed. When cold temps like this comes up, obviously you want to provide a windbreak for your animals. By this point, it's been maybe not this cold during the day, but it's been this cold at night, and so the animals are good and used to it. Now, if you just have a random cold snap, you might have to do a little bit more than we have to do, but one good thing about it is it has been cold and our animals are pretty acclimated to the low temperatures. You always want to provide some type of windbreak for your animals, though, and a place for them to get out of the weather. Now, the wind isn't blowing today. The sky is clear. I don't know if you can tell. The sky is completely clear. It's just the temperature is very low. So I'll show you kind of what we have provided for our animals. So for the younger quail chicks, for the younger big stock chickens, I'm sorry, this is their hutch for now until we can get a little break in the cooler temperatures. The big stocks here, this is the big stock run, and they have a coop there. I don't know if you can see it. There's a hole in the bottom there. That is their windbreak. As you can see, there's a chicken in the top there. And there's the chickens. They're getting scraps and grain and feed for the dogs. The dogs up there, they have insulated dog houses with straw, and then for Katie and the 2 younger hounds, they have this dog house with straw, very well insulated and warm. This is difficult without a stand. So when we talk about insulation, though, we want to make sure we're not suffocating. This isn't suffocation, it's insulation, which means don't lock up everything so tight that you don't have breathe holes. So this is our rabbitry, and I'll kind of show you how it's set up in just a second. Our quail are in here as well. We have an open door here. At the top of the roof, you can see the light coming in. There is airflow there. There's also a hole here that goes out here for the dogs. It's a large enough hole that we have circulation. You want to make sure that you're not locking everything up. I see this so much. People, especially with their chickens, want to lock their chickens up so tight with plastic that there is no airflow. And so when you go in, it might be warm, but there's no airflow. So you've got feces and urine in one little tiny tight room with no airflow, and that's going to cause a lot of respiratory issues. You want to make sure that you have airflow. Airflow is not the enemy. The wind is the enemy. So you just want to make sure that the animals have a wind break, but not so isolated and cooped up that they are, suffocating and or breathing in their own urine and feces. Hold on, Andy's got something to add. Come over here.
On the chickens in the wintertime, if you use a little bitty roost pole, and this is the chicken's foot, let's say, it goes around the roost, and a hen's breast sits on top of her feet. A small roost pole will not fluff the feathers out on her breast wide enough to cover her toes.
Yeah.
And that'll freeze her toes off. But if you use a big roost pole, say like this, the toes is on it. When her breast sets down on that roost, the roost pole is diameter's big enough to where it pushes the breast feathers out and it covers the toes and they don't freeze.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That's a good point. We had to learn that the hard way. You want your roost poles to be about baseball. Yeah. Like no smaller around than a baseball. I've got tiny hands. You want it bigger than what my hand is. Your roost poles need to be, you know, a good size, like a orange to grapefruit size, maybe smaller than grapefruit, but you're wanting baseball size roost poles. We had to learn this the hard way a few years ago when we had that polar or whatever vortex that came through. We had chickens lose their toes from freezing. And so you really need to even if you're doing all the blocking in, if it's that cold, if it's negative degree temps or single digit temps, you really need to make sure, if you haven't done it right now, it's even a good idea, even for the summertime, to keep them roost poles good and thick. It's better for their body. And especially in the wintertime, it's better for just keeping the health of the bird overall and helping them keep warm. And he had a great point. They need that width in order for their breast feathers to cover their feet. So yeah, I'm glad he brought that up, because a lot of people don't think about that, and that's something we had to learn the hard way. So. All right, guys, so this is the rabbitry here. I have multiple videos on this, and I'm honestly not trying to show you exactly the rabbitry, but I'm trying to show you what we have set up here. So if you notice, we have a door here, and we're trying, like I said, we're trying to keep a windbreak. So our cage is closest to the door right here. This one specifically, he has a windbreak on the back of his cage. I didn't block this front part in. He's hanging out right here. He's a rabbit. He's going to stay pretty warm. But if he gets cold, he gets behind that windbreak. On this cage here, I'm going to do it from the inside here. You'll notice on her cage, she has a board. If she gets cold, she can get behind that. That breaks the wind off of her. That's the enemy. It's the wind is the enemy. That's what gets them cold. So as long as you can provide that, you're good. These cages don't need it because the wind's going to blow through here. It's going to be blocked immediately there. Same thing for that one. Sorry, the lighting's horrible. It's blocked here on the end. We won't have to worry about the rest. They're far enough in. But just keeping that air off of them. But keeping a good amount of airflow. Now, these are rabbits. 7 degrees is not a big deal to them. As you can see here, we've got babies. They're eating right now out of the bowl. They're fine. They've been hopping around doing just fine. Same thing for the quail. They're doing perfectly fine. And as you've seen our chickens, they're doing great as well. We're in single digits, so everybody's doing good. Let's talk about feed just for a second. So when it's cold like this, I do try to give the rabbits, I tend to give them a little bit more hay, just to keep them, the hay is a filler. So it's just going to keep their digestive system moving. As long as their digestive system is moving, they're warm. Same things with the chickens. Instead of putting their feed in a bowl, maybe like typical, people would, or put it in a feeder, I recommend throwing it down on the ground, even if there's snow. The reasoning for that is because they're having to work to scratch that feed up. Now, what I would do personally, in my chicken coop is not up to par like I usually like it to be. I would throw straw and hay in their run, and then I would take their regular feed and I would sprinkle it over top of their straw and their hay. What they're going to have to do is they're going to have to work to get the feed. Obviously, work is going to make them work their bodies. It's going to keep them warm. It's going to work on that digestive system. I also like to give a little extra corn. If you can, it is a filler. It's also, it keeps them warm. It's something that keeps them warm. I also recommend putting straw down in any kind of indoor coop. So I showed you the coop that we have out there. We have the run, and then the coop. Inside the coop, we have straw. Right now would probably be a horrible time for them to lay, but some hens might lay. I would watch for hens that maybe have been laying recently. Check those hens to make sure they're not egg bound, or they don't have any eggs attached to their butt. A few years ago, I had a hen that I had bought in the fall. She was young. She decided to lay her eggs. During the polar vortex, the egg got stuck to her bum. We had to use warm water and pull it off of her, her booty hole. So just watch for things like that. But really, the temperature, smart hens are not going to lay in this temperature. So just, but check on your hens. Make sure you're not having any issues with being egg bound or having eggs attached in their booty hole, because obviously they need that to use the restroom. All right, guys. So everybody's happy, healthy, and warm. I'm chilled to the bone though, so I'm gonna head up to the house. I appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody hanging out, and hopefully we can see you on the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.
Chili, chili, chili.